My son said that when he saw Yishai's face on his phone on Friday morning, he immediately assumed that Yishai had won a national award or the like, but sadly it was to share the tragic news. My son accompanied him together with his school friends and teachers and his parents and his siblings and his widow and his community and his comrades on his final journey, as Yishai was laid to rest on Friday morning. The Prime Minister said that these two fallen heroes, fell while defending our homeland with courage and with dedication. The Prime Minister said that their sacrifice will not be forgotten and will continue to uphold the values they fought for. May their memories be a blessing forever. Next, today, we expect the release of IDF soldier Edan Alexander, who was brutally abducted by the Hamas terror organization and held hostage in Gaza for 584 days. We will let you know news as soon as we have it. His return, without any concession in exchange, is a direct result of the relentless military pressure exerted by our brave IDF forces and the firm, principled policy led by this country and this government in partnership with our US allies. For clarity, Israel has not agreed to any ceasefire nor the release of terrorists. We have committed only to a temporary humanitarian corridor to facilitate Edan's safe return. Hamas have made this release as a gesture to our American allies. Now, I can share with you that we are in the midst of critical days. A serious, credible proposal is now on the table, a deal that would bring all of our hostages home. Israel has accepted the Witkoff framework. Hamas continues to reject it. Meanwhile, with the return of Edan, 58 hostages, both the living and the deceased, remain in Hamas captivity, held for over a year and a half since the horrific massacre of October 7th. Our fight to bring them home continues with force, with diplomacy, and with our unshakable commitment to every Israeli citizen. I can also share with you that the alliance between Israel and the United States is stronger than ever. It's rooted in shared values and a common resolve to defeat Hamas and to restore security and humanity to our region. I can also share with you our latest figures on our hostages. With the return of Edan, please God, very, very soon, 197 hostages will have been returned, 148 alive and 47 having been mostly murdered by their captors, Hamas. Next to Gaza, Israel is operating against the Hamas terror organization throughout Gaza with increasing intensity. Since the return to intense fighting, the IDF has struck over 2,000 targets and eliminated hundreds of terrorists, among them dozens of mid-level commanders and officials of the Hamas terrorist regime. And finally, I just want to remind you of Israel's war aims. This war will continue until all of its goals are met: the return of all of our hostages, both the living and the deceased, the elimination of the military and governmental capabilities of the Hamas terror organization, and the removal of the terrorist threat from Gaza. That's the end of our briefing here today. Please put your questions in the chat together with your name and your news outlet, and we will answer them. And as soon as we have further news of the impending, we hope, please God, the release of Edan Alexander, we will share that with you. Okay, first question I can see here. Is that the first question? Yeah, that's the first question I can see here is from Samuel Tisser from BNN. Regarding the release of Edan Alexander, what's your statement about the rumors of the US pushing for a long-term deal? Thank you for that question, Samuel. Look, today's release of, please God, the release when it happens of Edan Alexander is expected to lead to negotiations for the release of hostages according to the original Witkoff framework. Now, I can share with you again that Israel has already accepted the details of that framework, and Hamas, the terror organization, has refused to accept. Next question here is from Reuters. Perhaps you can share your name from Reuters. You're wondering if you could comment on today's statement from Global Hunger Monitor Integrated Food Security Phase Classification that Gaza's entire population faces critical risk of famine. Thank you for that question. Perhaps you can share your name from Reuters. Well, the first thing I would say is, of course, Israel hears very well where there is hunger in Gaza. It is hunger, of course, which is caused by Hamas. They have engineered the humanitarian crisis which they have created inside Gaza. Now, the IPC, of course, have been wrong many, many times. In fact, throughout this conflict, they've constantly talked about famine. Famine has never happened because of Israel's efforts to get more aid in, despite the best efforts of Hamas. Hamas wish to cause hunger inside the Gaza Strip. Israel is trying to prevent that happening. Now, when it comes to Gaza and humanitarian aid, aid that goes to Hamas is not humanitarian. Genocidal Hamas terrorists are stealing the aid intended for civilians in Gaza. This is a tragedy as well as a crime, of course. Israel won't allow these terrorists to deprive civilians of aid, and we're working around the clock with President Trump and his administration and his team to ensure that the aid reaches civilians. And this is the critical point which UN organizations, including the IPC, never seem to refer to prevent it being stolen by a mass murdering terrorist organization run by dictators whose objective is to starve their own people, whose objective is to kill their own people as well as ours. Thank you. You've told me your name is May from Reuters. Next question is, did Israel send a delegation to Cairo for the ceasefire negotiations? That's from Itai Stern at NPR. Itai, I can, the point of these briefings is to share with you official information. There is plenty of speculation everywhere in this region, in the media and elsewhere. I can share with you that Israel does wish to pursue negotiations to get our hostages home, defeat this terrorist organization, and end this war. Of course, it's all of our objectives to end this war by defeating this terrorist organization, making sure that Hamas can never be a force inside Gaza again, and of course, to get every single one of our hostages home, the living and the deceased. Next question here is from Hannah Julian from the Jewish Press. Any comment on reports that Israel may be forced by a Saudi-US deal to accept a demilitarized Palestinian state? No, Hannah, I haven't got anything to share with you on that. It doesn't. That's not something which we've talked about. Our Minister for Strategic Affairs, Ron Dermer, who has been absolutely key to Israel's negotiations to get our hostages home and to defeat this terrorist organization, has said very, very clearly that it's demilitarization coupled with de-radicalization, which will provide a better future for Palestinians. Next question from Riccardo Cavalieri from RAI News 24 Italian TV. And you're asking, Riccardo, is it true that Edan Alexander's release was achieved through direct negotiation between US and Hamas without Israel being directly involved in this specific case? How do you comment on the fact that the United States negotiated directly with Hamas? Thank you for that question, Riccardo. Look, I will share with you that Israel is extremely grateful with the potential of our hostage coming home. That is our ultimate objective. Of course, we are delighted with the fact that our hostage is potentially coming home, no matter what the citizenship of our hostages. if they are an Israeli citizen, it is our duty to get every single one of them home. And I want to remind you that our war aims are the same today as they were just a couple of days after the October 7th massacre, when the Prime Minister set them together in partnership with Israel's cabinet. This war will be over when its goals are met. And you can read this into your question as well as an answer. The return of all of our hostages, both the living and the deceased, the elimination of the military and governmental capabilities of the Hamas terror organization, and the removal of the terrorist threat from Gaza. Those are our war aims, and that's what all of these discussions, both diplomacy and our military efforts to put pressure on Hamas, which has resulted in this potential release, please God, when it happens. That's why it is happening, because that's been our objectives. And the latest information I'm getting right now is that Edan is now scheduled to be released this evening. So I can share with you that our latest information is that Edan is now scheduled to be released this evening. All of us are waiting for that moment. Another question here from Samuel Tisser from BNN, and you say that Trump will be gifted a plane from Qatar. What's Israel's response, as Israel and Qatar have a tense relationship? Thank you for that question, Samuel. I think Israel, what I can share with you, the way I'd answer that question is Israel knows exactly what Qatar is. Israel knows precisely what Qatar's activities have been in the run-up to this conflict, hosting Hamas terrorists in luxury accommodation, sending them money, financing them. Israel knows precisely what Qatar has done and continues to do. And that's the way I would answer that question. Question here from Beltrue from The Independent. You're asking a question about the strength of the US-Israel relationship. You think that it's at an all-time low, particular over disagreements concerning Iran, and that this has been highlighted by the fact that the US had direct talks with Hamas to negotiate with the release of Edan. Thank you for that question, Bell. Look, I think Israel's relationship with the US is the result of years of partnership, years of sharing the same worldview, of sharing the same enemies, of sharing the same aspirations as well for a more peaceful future. So I don't recognize that description whatsoever. When it comes to Iran, you specifically asked about Iran. President Trump and Prime Minister Netanyahu, together with the overwhelming, the majority, everyone here in Israel, believes that it is simply not an option, that Iran cannot be allowed to have a nuclear weapon. That is the US policy, that is President Trump has said that very, very clearly, as is our Prime Minister, who has spent decades on that mission to prevent Iran from becoming a nuclear power, to prevent it from becoming a nuclear weapons power. The US and Israel share that objective. Now, many in the media would like to make lots of fuss about all sorts of things. Our objectives remain precisely the same. And a final question, third question from Samuel Tisser from BNN. Perhaps you can share what BNN is, Samuel, so just to elucidate us. Is there a comment on the report coming out that Edan Alexander will fly to Qatar when after his release to meet President Trump and the Emir of Kuwait, depending on his health? Bernie News Network. Thank you. Thank you for that question. We haven't got anything more to share with you on that particular point. Okay, my friends, that's the last question we've got here. Thank you for joining us. You can contact us in the usual way for interview, for whatever. As I said, our latest information is that the release will happen later today, and we'll share more information on the official channels when we have it. In the meantime, please do stay safe, and we'll see you next time. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.